I'm Ashby Ragsdale.
I'm Maddie Bowbury.
I'm Anna Sanchez, and we're all seniors at Eldorado High School.
Today we're going to do an informative speech over child abuse, and Ashby's going to start it.
According to childhelp.org, more than 5 children die a day from child abuse. From 1998 to 2010, the rate of child deaths per day has risen from 3.13 million to 5 million children per day. Per year. All those children are usually under the age of 4. Every 10 seconds, there's a case of child abuse that's called in. Some forms of child abuse would be sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and then there's neglect. Some forms of sexual abuse would be rape. Some forms of mental abuse would be telling them that they're not good enough, telling them that they don't love them, and verbal abuse kind of goes along with mental abuse. Some forms of physical abuse would be beating them to death and just abusing them just so they can. And some forms of neglect would be like not telling them, not bathing them, and not sending them to the doctor when they need to, and not telling them that they're good enough and that you love them, and treating them like they're their own children. All these forms of child abuse are horrible, but they're the facts, and there needs to be a stop. Now Maddie's going to continue our speech.
Children that are abused have a higher risk of suicide, runaway, and alcohol and drug abuse. Usually they'll start hanging out with the wrong crowd and doing bad things. The crowd can be their friends, it can be their boyfriends, it can be their girlfriends. And the crowd will usually be drinking and doing drugs. Usually this means that the victim is pressured into doing drugs and drinking alcohol, and they think that this takes away their pain and it makes everything go away from their past, and even from what's going on in the moment. If they're still getting abused, they think that it's going to fix it and make it all better, but it's really not. A lot of kids don't realize that you can be killed just by doing a drug once. That's how bad they are. They don't realize that alcohol is a depressant, and that if you want to drink by yourself, you can get so depressed that you could commit suicide, or you could get in the car and kill somebody else. You can put anybody in harm. A lot of families that have more than just child abuse, their parents are abusing each other. They'll get in a relationship where they are abused, or they are abusing somebody, and they think that it's okay because that's just how they've always had life for them, that's just how life's always been for them, but that's not okay. According to childhelp.org, I found that 14% of men and 36% of women in the United States prisons were abused as children. Women are abused more often than boys are, and the majority of the time it is sexual. Back to what I was saying earlier about kids running with the wrong crowd and breaking the law and doing bad things, I found that 59% of people that are abused are arrested as juveniles. And I think that they commit these crimes more often when they're being abused because they are hanging out with the wrong people. 28% are arrested as adults, and 30% are arrested for a violent crime, and the majority of those people were abused physically. Abuse can give you psychological disorders, and 80% of 21-year-olds that were abused as children were tested and had at least one psychological disorder. People that abuse their children were probably abused also as children. They sometimes won't abuse their children to the same extent that they were abused. Say they were abused physically, they might abuse their child mentally and think that, oh, I'm doing that, like, I'm a good mom, but really they're just abusing their kid just as much as they were abused, and their kid is still going to have a sad story to tell and could possibly kill themselves, or you don't know, one never knows what could happen to them. Sometimes the parent can be so sick from their past that they could kill their children and hurt them and possibly kill themselves, and I think this is something that needs to be fixed. So we're going to end our speech with Anna Sanchez.
We're going to Ashby again because she needs to say some things.
According to DoSomething.org, neglect is by far the most common form of child abuse. More than 78% of all cases are. According to Cardinal McCloskey Services.org, 1 in 3 to 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys have been molested by age 18. Now to Anna.
According to NIH.gov, personality changes are something common in children whenever they're abused. It's often that they're too shy and they're more serious than usual. And I think that's very depressing because children need to be happy and discover new things because that's the way children should be, and that's why they were put on this earth, to make days brighter for everyone. Abused children also have fewer friends, low self-esteem, and lower ambitions. And according to medicine.net, there's a pattern of abuse, and it varies from gender. 75% of girls suffer from sexual abuse. Girls suffer from emotional abuse and neglect. Like Ashby said, that neglect is often not giving them the basic needs to live, such as bathing, taking them to the doctor, giving them love, respect, and all that. And boys suffer from physical abuse, such as trauma, and studies show that fathers are more likely to kill their children by physically abusing them, but mothers, they kill by neglect, and such as starvation and other things that I have mentioned throughout this speech. Children may also die from fatal injuries such as mistreatment, and can result from severe head trauma, shaken baby syndrome, trauma to the abdomen or chest. Scalding, burns, drowning, suffocating, poisoning, and starvation are also some of the things kids suffer from. Also, parents think that it's, how do I say this? They find pleasure in their kids suffering, like putting them putting them on the stove, or putting them in the oven, or putting them in the bathroom and putting dangerous chemicals that they can suffocate from. And I think that's just very wrong, and we should have an end to that, but it seems that it just keeps on going. It's like a cycle of abusion, and we should end it, but it's pretty hard. Parents who abuse children are unfit for their role of parenting, like I said before, and they are the ones who start the cycle of abuse. It is in our hands to stop child abuse, although it is very hard, and it's time to stop child abuse.
I think that we need to work together as a country to try to prevent child abuse. We could stop the crimes, we could stop the suicides, and stop drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and all those other things that are displayed among the youth of the United States today. And hopefully we can find a way sometime in the future, anytime soon, to stop child abuse and make the world a better and safer place for everybody. And when people get abused as children, I think we should, if CPS gets called or something, don't just take the kids and put them in a foster home or anything like that. You need to give them a therapist, a counselor, or someone to talk over with so that they can get better. Because if not, they're just going to end up, and like Anna said earlier, it's going to be a cycle, and it's just going to keep going because they're still going to be hurting, and they're not going to have any way to display that besides doing the same thing to their kids. But I think this concludes our informative speech over child abuse, and I hope you